Professor Utpal Mukherjee has been a faculty at the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru for the last 35 years, since he joined the institute in 1989. This year, he is retiring from the Department of Electrical Communication Engineering. Today, in this interview, he will share his experiences with his colleague, Professor Parimal Parag. Professor Mukherjee received his Bachelor of Technology in Electrical Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay in the year 1980 and the degrees of Master in Science, Electrical Engineer and Doctor of Sciences in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science from MIT in 1982, 1984 and 1986 respectively. He was a member of the technical staff at AT&T Bell Laboratories, Murray Hill from 1986 to 1989. In 1989, he joined the Department of ECE at ISC, where his research focuses on communication networks, communication theory and systems. Professor Mukherjee and Professor Parimal Parag, over to you now.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we just wanted to talk a little bit about your experiences, and maybe one thing we can start with is your life as a student, researcher and a teacher.
Well, been a student almost all my life, but
Fair.
so yeah, my first exposure to working on a particular topic was as a student in my bachelor's BTech project. Maybe in those days, from communications point of view, integrated services were just beginning to be discussed. ISDN.
I see.
So I worked a little bit in my project on multiplexing voice and data, putting data through whenever voice is not active. So
you started in networking since undergrad.
yeah. So, but then my background was in electrical engineering in general. So for my masters, I sort of switched a little bit to control aspects of in the context of power electronics. It was essentially a controls problem. So
who was your master's advisor?
George Verghese was my master's advisor. Yes. So he's a control signal processing person who worked in power electronics, power systems, and then biomedical engineering. So he's still active. So that was my first exposure to working in controls. And then I got back to communications for my PhD.
And how does it work at MIT?
If you and your advisor mutually agree, you can continue to work on your on the same field with the same advisor and so on. It's just that I was initially interested in communications. I wanted to get back to communications.
I see.
But what I worked on for my PhD was actually controls of communication. So my controls sort of carried over.
Right.
In different contexts, different model, quite different. So I was looking at controls, what's called flow control in wired networks. So
did you take course with Gallagher or?
Yes. So the broad area I was in the department. The department had some 7 or 8 areas.
Right.
One of them was called Systems, Communications and Control.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in that area. So as a controls person first, and
right.
then switching to the communications part little later. So the coursework is decided by which area you are in.
Right.
And of course, a few courses here and there for your particular
research.
So So the kinds of courses we were supposed to take in that area was linear system theory, stochastic processes and applications,
Right.
and mathematical programming, so on. So smart.
What is mathematical programming?
Linear and non-linear optimization.
I see. Oh, this is what we call it now. Okay.
Yes. So
they seem very control theoretic, though, the questions. I mean, the courses you took, except maybe stochastic application, which is broad and general.
Stochastic processes and applications. Yes. So yes. So I was already familiar to some extent with probability from my bachelor's BTech project and so on. So this was somewhat more in that direction. But as it turned out, my PhD thesis was more on a deterministic model. It's not really stochastic. There was a small part of queuing in it, but most of the ideas and analysis were of a scheduling problem, a deterministic scheduling problem.
Was it network calculus or?
No, not network calculus. It's more like this job shop scheduling problems, but this time with periodic arrival of the demand, the traffic that you want.
It's like knapsack type of problem?
To some extent, but the question of interest here was the end-to-end delay when you transmit the packet at one end and you receive it at the other end. How do you schedule the slots on the various links in the path for all the different kinds of flows that may be there in the network, so that you reduce the overall delay. So it was a deterministic problem. We looked at the algorithms for deterministic scheduling, and it turned out the problem, like most scheduling problems, are NP complete. So this was NP complete. We showed that.
So you studied complexity theory then?
Not as a formal course, but
by yourself?
By myself, yes. So,
who were your contemporaries at that time?
There were many, but I don't know if they're very well known right now. But one of them, of course, is very well known. It's Ardal Harikan, but he was working on sequential decoding. And which later went on to polar codes. But in the networks area, there was one Ellen Hahn who had worked on round-robin scheduling in networks. That was sort of the closest among all the people in the lab to my my work. So Jean Renier, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's in Montreal now. So a bunch of people even before me and after me worked in networks.
So what happens then? So you finish your PhD. Did you want to come back to India, or it's like, no, I'm going to go to Bell Labs?
No, I wanted to get some work experience.
I see.
So they had this practical
but the plan was always, I'll go back.
The plan was to always go. Yes, come back. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you joined Murray Hill Bell Labs?
Bell Labs, yes. Right. So there again, there was a big switch. Processing networks, so the area works there, much more technology focused.
Still networks though?
Still networks, yes. So more applied, technology focused, building things, running some experiments on test beds and so on. This was in the context of fiber optic networks, which were in which activity had picked up at that time. But as it turns out, it's been a slow process there, and things have progressed quite a bit in that area. Optical networks now, but it's not been one quick, transition from what it was before to what it's now. It's been a gradual change. So
specifically something which you worked on, which saw the light of the day, or was more futuristic and researching?
So yes, in a sense, it saw the light of the day. I mean, we thought of an application of this to what was current at that time. Again, it was, what I worked on was on an architecture for combining different kinds of access mechanisms in a fiber optic bus network.
I see.
So certain access mechanisms are suitable for priority traffic, certain for the non-priority traffic,
Right.
and so on. So we thought of an application having to do with, say, you have cable TV, digital TV
Right.
channels, and just text that you might want to display. So at that time, this you didn't used to see these banners in the TV,
Right.
scrolling, and so we thought of that kind of thing at that time. So
So what do you imagine is true now?
yeah, in that sense, it's true. Yes, but in many different ways right now. But so I got to know something about fiber optics
There.
at that time.
So you spent 5 years at Bell Labs, right?
No, 3 years.
3 years, and then how did ISE happen?
So I always wanted to come back. So it becomes more difficult to come back the longer you stay there. So I thought it's time to. My parents also thought that it's time that I looked for a job in India. So in '88 I visited to visit some places, give talks, interviews, and so on.
Where else you interviewed other than ISE?
So IIT Bombay was one, but that only these two academic institutions.
Okay.
I did give a talk at TIFR also,
Right.
but there were a number of industrial places which I visited. Also CDOT
I see.
in Bangalore, Delhi also I visited.
So
CMC and so on.
did you know Anurag before?
No. We first met in 1988 when I came over here to give the seminar.
Yeah, I see.
Yes. So it was pleasant to find somebody from Bell Labs already here, joined about half a year before I did.
Right.
But then, and the interesting thing at that time was that networks was just beginning to
Take off.
come into India.
Right.
It had started, maybe ARPANET experiment started 20 years before then.
Right.
But
you did work on networks at your BTech, right? 1980, which is like 9 years ago.
1980, yes. So what I mean is that actual technology and
implementation.
so on, implementation as a service and so on and so forth,
Right.
just beginning to take off. So there was this project that the government had come up with, Ministry of Information Technology, Department of Electronics at that time, essentially. So it's called ERNet, Education and Research Network,
Right.
ATPCN, Advanced Technology Program in Computer Network.
Right.
So that had just started. So, and the idea was that the academic institutions should show the way, should come up with ways and means and best practices for networking in India.
If my understanding is correct, at that time nobody had internet except academic institutions. Is that correct?
Yes, even academic institutions did not have internet. I mean, there was no internet.
So ERNet is the sort of first internet in India. Is that correct or no?
Yes, it was the first packet switched network in India. Yes. So and it started off with help from the UNDP, United Nations Development Program.
Mm-hmm.
So there were experts from various countries coming here, spending some few weeks here and advising regarding various aspects.
Right.
People from University College London. In fact, my department head from Bell Labs came here on that, Nick Maximchuk.
Nice.
So it's quite a, and it started with 5 IITs and IIC as the academic nodes.
Nice.
And ERNet Delhi, which was sort of a central place in the Department of Electronics. So anyway, and the interest in networks was very high at that time, and we easily got a lot of people coming in wanting to work on projects in networking, and so a lot of project assistants, project associates, In fact, Dr. Malti Hegde was fully supported by ERNet.
Yeah, man.
Right. So, and she took care of ERNet essentially from the beginning to the end at IIS.
How long did this project last, this ERNet?
So, in 2016, we stopped our point of presence, ERNet point of presence here.
And starting was 90 or?
It started 86, 87.
Also, before you even joined in?
Before I joined, yes. But then, you know, the equipment came in phases and so on. So the equipment was coming when I joined.
Right.
So, so there were a lot of things going on that time. SPR Anand here is one of the people from that time who's seen us all through these years.
86 to 2016, that's a long time. That's like 16, 14, 30 years it ran this project.
Yes.
Very nice. So it's almost like your entire career was tied to ERNet in some sense. Like it started when you came in.
Yes.
And almost till the
sort
end.
of the right time for networking in India.
Right.
So the interest in networking has, of course, reduced a lot now. But AI is coming up, machine learning and so on.
So we can say networking was the AI of the times.
Yes. Right.
Of the 80s.
Yes.
So I have just one question though, like when, this unrelated to research a little bit. I mean, you are known to be, one of the best teachers in our department. So how did you, pick up teaching? Like, did you have some role models, that I want to be a teacher like that, or some inputs you received from your peers or your mentors that a good teacher should have this quality? Like, what is your view on how to be a good teacher?
Well, I've had several good teachers, but I wouldn't say that I modeled myself on any of them. I just taught the way I thought I should teach, and so.
So, what's your philosophy? And let's ask that in your teaching philosophy.
Trying to keep things simple, but not simpler than they can be. Einstein said that.
Oh.
Yes. So, but he was talking of research. I'm applying it to teaching. So, Feynman said something similar. Yes, I mean, if you can explain it in the simplest possible terms, then
no further.
Then, yes. So it's something that students can connect with. I mean, they're not. It doesn't go over their heads. And that suited me also because I didn't know much. So
you've been very humble.
So it's sort of built from there.
You spent, let's say, 89 you join and 2024, so it's like 35 years at ISC. You must have a lot of, great anecdotes to share with us. Anything, like during your time here at ISC.
And in general, the areas of research in the department, have grown and shrunk
over time.
Students who graduated from here have gone on. A number of them are in the ECE department here.
The
signal processing is faculty. So, it's interesting to see what students do once they finish here. Where do they go and so on. But,
did you ever get like I would never thought you would end up doing this? Like, did you ever have this?
Well, yes, in a sense. I mean, startups were not at all common
at that time
in India. So, some of our students went, MTech, ME students, went to US, did some degree, perhaps, started startups, and so.
Oh, they went. So they did PhD here, and they went, or they did masters here.
They did masters here, maybe a PhD there, and started on their own startups there.
Right.
And now, of course, there are startups coming up here, and so people are joining startups in India. So that's I mean, when I was teaching them, I didn't think that they would go and join startups. I was not familiar with startups, so but most companies then there were reasonably big in networks. So
I see. But you would see also that, when you're talking about the changes, I would say that from your time to now, Bangalore has also gone a significant change, right?
Yes, Bangalore has far more populated, far more traffic. Uh, Water scarcity, climate change has brought in a lot of
True.
things.
But it's also a consequence of something else, that Bangalore is not the central hub of technology, maybe when you join, to it's now.
At that time, public sector undertakings were quite common in Bangalore, and the defense.
That is true. So BL is here.
BL,
BHAL is
yes. So
ISRO is here. DRDO is here. Yes.
yes. So they were there well before
True.
I joined.
But I meant big private players, right?
Big private players came in somewhat later.
Right.
Yes. So they, the IT capital which it is now, started around that time or later.
So you saw the transformation of Bangalore from public sector undertaking to this private
players. Right. So the cost of living has gone up greatly as a result.
True.
So
how do you think the research has evolved in ECE or in your own area, like networking over the years, like from '89 when it was like the epitome of research, right? It was like all the action was there.
Well, yes, the fundamental problems have not changed that much. I mean, there have been advances, of course, but new applications are always coming up. I mean, initially it was ISDN, broadband ISDN,
right,
ATM, and then wireless networking came in. Wireless communications, wireless networking picked up, and that continues. All the IEEE standards, big data, smart cities, and so on. All these kinds of applications are there. So things are becoming more applied and integrated with other topics or other subjects, fields now. Optical networks have come on so long way. Tejas Networks has done very well in that. So I think, problems are still there. It's just that to the public, it's not in the public eye so much now in networks.
What advice would you give to your younger colleagues?
So in research, what you should do and what ends up being done is look for what is at the core of the understanding of a particular topic or field. So for that you need to have the patience and the curiosity, of course, to explore and give it that time. Keep that as a priority. Look for what is fundamental, more fundamental in whatever topic you're researching. So that way you eventually strike something. I mean, that's how things progress.
So that's a nice advice, but in the modern times, you're seeing that everything's sort of driven by quantitative metrics, right? Faculty is going to evaluate it by the number of publications and the citations. So what you're saying is fundamentally, I think it's a great advice, but how do they balance it out with having this deep curiosity, and trying to learn the area and make meaningful contributions?
Well, I think you'll find that most of your students want to get ahead in life and finish and go. So they are driving the process. If you get students, they'll want to work and graduate. So with papers.
Agreed.
So
So you're just saying that steer their curiosity toward
Yes.
what you think are the right questions.
yes.
That's it. And how do we get good students?
That
This is something
is-
which
that
entire
is-
academia is struggling with these days.
That is a problem, and in AI right now that may not be a problem, but in networks that is a problem. So so even networks has to bring in some aspects of learning, reinforcement learning, let's say, or something. So work on those kinds of things, perhaps that will attract some students.
Bring new techniques, which is attract to students, but still work on the problems which are fundamental
Yes,
to the
yes.
area. See, another thing which I feel that younger colleagues in our institute struggles with is that when you work with the senior faculty, right, then your recommendation carries more weight.
To
Right?
some extent that's true, but then younger faculty are more in tune with the newer techniques and also the newer problems in the area. So it's trade-off. I mean,
Agreed.
so there are pros and cons of working with both.
Oh, agreed.
It's,
Okay, so this is another question which I was very curious about. What do you like to do in life other than research, of course, and teaching?
generally speaking, reading and listening to talks, especially Indian philosophy and so on, that interests me. So that's, and in COVID times, that a lot of these online talks going on, and they continue even now. So that can keep you quite busy because that's a new area to me. Let's say, sort of a hobby, but not as nothing that I've done seriously.
So, what are your plans post retirement? Are you going to be active in research?
So probably not professionally, but personally, yes, I'll continue to try to do things in research. And also get time for these other philosophy and things like that.
Right.
But yes, I'd like to stay in touch with what's going on in ECE, for instance. There are lots of visitors
Right.
come, give talks and so on. Very interesting to listen to what's happening and how ECE is doing and so on.
Anything else you would like to add before we conclude?
One thing
Yes.
I would say is that where the division structure of departments within division is good in many ways, keeps the department sizes manageable and so on. There's so much common going on technically between different departments that so now these clusters is one way people have gone. People from different departments come in and together try to do something or whatever way. I think ISC has been a great place to be in. It's long-standing culture in research and teaching. Something that we need. The greatest need is good students. Yes.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
sure it will. Thank you.